Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the new talents that Blizzard put out for Dragonflight. They put out information on Death Knight and Druid. I assume those are the ones maybe they have along the furthest. They put out in a blog post style, and I have thoughts on why that is the case. But people were able to take the information because they said like which row everything was on. They gave all the information. It just was like in a text format. People were able to take that and create like their own little talent calculators out of it. So there's Druid and Death Knight talent calculators. I'm on mythictrap.com. This is one of the people who made the talent calculators. This is actually a great place to look up dungeon stuff, raid stuff, especially if you're like new into endgame stuff. You're like, I'm going to start doing Mythic Plus. This is a good place to look up dungeons. You're going to go into your first normal heroic raid. You know, it has mythic stuff too, right? Mythic raid stuff. It has all kinds of resources and stuff like that. You can look at everything there. It's actually a really good site. I've used it a couple times myself. And then down here, if you end up coming here and liking it, this guy does have a Patreon to help him, fund the site and stuff like that. So if you come here and like it, you can always do that. I always like to shout out anybody whose resource I'm using because, it takes work to do that. Again, that's mythictrap.com. So again, we have Death Knight and Druid. Now out of these, I know Balanced Druid the best. So that's what we're going to go with here. We're going to talk about the talents, what I think about them, maybe try to, connect some dots maybe with what some Paladin stuff might be as well, and kind of get an idea there. So there's a Druid Tree, and then there's a Balanced Tree. And, this is like utility. There's some damage and output stuff in the class tree. And then in your spec tree, it's obviously mostly throughput in one way or another. So I already filled these trees out, so I had a kind of an idea of what I'm doing, and we'll kind of go through them. So on the Druid tree here, you start off with whatever one you are spec'd into. So this would be Feral getting Rake, Bear getting Frenzied Regen, Resto getting Rejuve, and then I'm Balanced, so I start with Starfire automatically, and then I move down there, of course, down the Starfire path, or down the Balance path. They're kind of set up in that way. So if you go all around the left, it's going to be mostly Feral stuff. If you go all the way down the right, it's going to be mostly Boomkin stuff. If you go in the middle, it's going to be healing and defensives. So like healing defensives are very tied together. If you wanted to play Boomkin Cat, that would be a lot more difficult to do while still getting other useful talents as well. There's a lot of like useful ones in the center here, maybe to signify balance or whatever. One thing right away I'll say that I think could be improved upon is maybe the pathing of some of these. For example, I had to take, no matter what I did, I had to take two talents that I didn't want as like, let's say I'm playing Moonkin and all I care about is doing damage, doing throughput, and staying alive even. Let's add that in there as well. My own survival, my own damage. Very selfish, yes, but let's say that's how I'm playing. I had to take at least two talents that I didn't care for at all. In this case, it's going to be Thrash and Swipe. And then in this case, it's going to be, if I was going more of a healing route, it would be Rejuve and Swift Mend that I would take as things that I didn't really care for. Now, since I didn't want like healing stuff per se that was useful and I wanted more defensive, I went down the bear side. Now, it should be noted you have to spend 8 points to get past this first part. And then you have to spend 20 points until you get down to the big juicy stuff at the bottom. So you can't just go a straight line down and then grab all the stuff at the bottom. I do like that. That's important. The first 8 points, the first tier here, that's all going to be like mostly regular abilities that you may already have normally in the game, and you'll just choose them. But you do get to pick and choose what you want. For example, you could play Balance and go like full healing or full tank. You could be like a Balance tank. Now, of course, you wouldn't actually be able to tank like a raid boss probably, but you could get all the benefits of being a tank as well as Balance and not even worry about going down the Balance side. So that is an option. So over here, so for the first ones, think about your class, who knows what it'll be for each class. Like it's Starfire for Moonkins, for a Rat Paladin, and what ability would it be for a Rat? Blade of Justice or something, you automatically start with that. That's probably what it'll actually be if they keep this format. And then you go down and, you grab other things as well, like Maybe Templar's Verdict is the next one or something. That just kind of think of that as far as how it goes. So I'll actually say the abilities in case you are a druid and you care. It's Starfire, Star Surge. I chose. That's 1 point. If it has 1 circle under, it's 1 rank. If it has 2, it's 2. If it has 3, it's 3. If it has this golden octagon, you get to make a choice on what you have there. And these will be like things that are in your talent tree already in many cases. Over on the other side, it won't be. But on this Druid Tree, it'll be things that are like normally talents. So then I got Moonkin form. I took a straight damage increase, 6% damage increase. Astral Influence, that gives you your extra range. Sunfire, you do have to spec into Sunfire. You don't start with it. So this is going to be something that a lot of people want to grab in many cases. And it's going to be interesting how bears decide to get there, because you can't go up. You have to go down right now. And that's what I kind of meant by the pathing. So like if I could go up, and let me just make sure that I can't. Let's take that off. Yeah. Okay. So if I could go up from Soothe, and maybe you can. Maybe because this is just how they made it. So maybe that's not the case. It is connected, so maybe I could go up. So like a bear druid could go from Soothe up to increase healing and healing taken. That would make a lot of sense, actually. And then grab Sunfire if they wanted. So I'm guessing this is not exactly how it works. And that's what you have to be careful with. This is not Blizzard releasing these. I'm guessing you're probably going to be able to go up. That would just make sense. And then grab Starfire and stuff like that. So anyways, went along the right side, grabbed all the Boomkin stuff. This is utility, Mass Entanglement, or Assaults. The other choice node over here, if you're curious, is Wild Charge and Tiger Dash. And then over here we have Mighty Bash and Incapacitating Roar. Now you notice I grabbed all 3 octagons here because I wanted like all 3 talents. And I went in a very just straight damage and then a lot of survivability and skipping Heart of the Wild at the bottom just for more survivability instead of like worrying about healing. So that's how it's set up. So for Paladin, I'm going to use Paladin as an example because that's what I play. If I didn't scroll down earlier enough, this Mass Entanglement, Ursol's, Incapacitating Roar, Mighty Bash. For Paladin, I assume it'll be Ret, Prot, Holy, something like that. Who knows which one they'll want to put in the middle. That's going to be, the way they have them laid out is going to mean a lot because it's a lot easier to mix and match with a certain one if it's next to it. So, of course, as a Ret then, you would want to be the middle one because then you could pick from Holy and Prot whatever you wanted. But who knows, whatever's in the middle is going to kind of be, the top of the line things. You're going to get to choose what you want. If it's Prot in the middle, you're going to get to choose some Ret damage stuff. You're going to get to choose some healing stuff. So that'll be interesting to see how it's even set up because that kind of influences things. When we get over to the balance side, or like the throughput side, you might want to call it, things that you're actually like increasing your power or your defensive, whatever, if you're a tank, I'm sure. And there's going to be a lot more choices over here and some interesting things, including like Covenant stuff. So Eclipse. So you want to, obviously, you have to take Eclipse first. That's kind of how Boomkins work. And then on the next one, you have Improved Eclipse. On the other side, you have Improved Moonfire, Nature's Balance. If you're a Moonkin, you know what all these things are. Improved Moonkin Form. So you took Moonkin Form over here. So you're going to take Improved Moonkin Form over here. Celestial Alignment, Starfall. Just the basics of a Moonkin, right? These are kind of just basic things. You also have the trees. You have Warrior Valoon, which is 3 Starfires. And then you get into the next tier. So the left side, the way they have this set up, is kind of going more AoE. So in this case, it's Improved Starfall, Stellar Drift, which you might actually want this sometimes, even as single target. So you'd put 3 points down this way, even though you're going single target, if you're moving a lot. Then Blessing of Valoon, Blessing of Anshe. I don't know how to say that. And then you get to choose between Clear Vision or Time Worn Dreambinder. These are like legendary powers, I believe, in Shadowlands. And so that's like your AoE side. Going down the middle, there's Solar Gleam. I don't actually know what this is, even though I play a lot of Boomkin, but it's Power of Goldrin. And Star Search has a chance to summon the Spirit of Goldrin, which immediately deals arcane damage to the target. It's 2-rank talent. Maybe that's in Shadowlands. I'm just not sure. I've never seen this. But I took that to get the improved Solar Beam as well. Then you have Stellar Inspiration, just stuff you'll kind of know if you are a Boomkin. And then you have Stellar Flare, Twin Moons. Those are talents. Precise alignment. Down here you have, I don't know how to pronounce that one, Syzygy and Primordial Arcanic Pulsar. I believe those are legendary powers as well. Down here you have Adaptive Swarm and Balance of All Things. Balance of All Things is definitely legendary. I think Adaptive Swarm might be Boomkin Covenant ability. I'm not positive on that though. And then there's another Covenant ability, but you have to choose between Incarnation, Chosen of Elune, or Convoke the Spirits. And then you either get Improved Incarnation or Improved Convoke below it. So I went with Convoke just for the hell of it. I love Convoke in Shadowlands, so that's what I went with there. And down here, New Moon versus Fury of Elune. Again, I believe those are talents for Boomkins. So when you think, you have to put it into your own class's perspective if you don't play Druid or whatever. So for like a Paladin, you assume, okay, one side's going to be AoE, one side's going to be single target, and maybe there'll be some multi-target stuff mixed in. So down the multi-target pathing, you'll probably have, like, for example, the Divine Storm that shoots 20 yards ahead for Ret Paladins and does more damage. That'll end up being like a choice over here. There's not a lot of Ret AoE stuff, so I'm really interested to see how they go with that. Maybe like the Wake of Ashes Conduit will be over here. If it is, hopefully it's buffed. Otherwise, it probably won't be worth taking. But Wake of Ashes Conduit could be over here. The Divine Storm Legendary, maybe like an Improved Consecration could be over here for Ret on the AoE side. For single target, you might have like Final Verdict as a legendary power you can choose from. And then honestly, if they're going to go the multi-target way as well, like down the center path, that might be stuff like the Hammer of Wrath stuff that is like in Shadowlands as well. Mad Paragon, Vanguard's Momentum, stuff like that you can technically use on multi-targets. That could be going down there as well. I'll be interested to see. Hopefully Divine Toll will be one of the choices. I know a lot of Paladins want to keep Divine Toll. I don't think Ashen Hollow is going to be a choice for any of the Paladin specs, unfortunately, if you love Ashen Hollow. My guess would be it would be the... if they're going with two, there's two here. My guess would be Divine Toll, and then another one would be the hammer from the Necro. So Necrolord Covenant. That would be my guesses for Ret Paladin. So you can kind of see how these are laid out here. I really like it. Again, these are not official. I'm assuming, because it would make more sense, that once you go down, you can go up. And you don't have to go down to get to a talent. That wouldn't make sense, especially because they lock things on purpose. So like Improved Moonkin form, you have to take Nature's Balance to get to it. So there's nothing going up to it. But I assume if there's something, and same thing with Light of the Sun, same thing with some of these at the bottom here, you have to go down to get them. So I assume the things that are connected with up and down, that you can go back up and grab them. If that's the case, this is looking really good. There's lots of choices here. If you don't know, you're going to be able to have multiple loadouts. So again, this is obviously a Druid Tree, but I'm talking about Ret Paladin just because that's what I main. So here, you'd have an AoE setup. You have like multiple builds. I don't even know how many it is. I know it's like at least like 4 or 5 builds. You have AoE build. You have straight single target build. You have a Mythic Plus build. You have, a PvP build. You have all these builds and you can just swap between them freely. And that's pretty cool. So I definitely like this. Obviously, and there's only like really one thing people were worried about were just stat increases. And there's a few of them, but there's really not many. And yes, a lot of it is stuff that you already have in game, but it is at least a la carte. Like you get to choose it. For example, if you're a Boomkin and you're playing on Skolex or something like that, you can just straight up not even take Starfall, or if you really didn't want to. Now, you do have to take Starfall, ironically, to get improved Star Surge. So I guess you would take Starfall anyways, probably. But like in theory, though, you don't have to take any of this AoE stuff and just completely take it out of your toolkit and get more of the single target powers than what you could possibly have currently. You also could have 2 Covenant abilities, right? Like, and for Ret Paladin, like I said, it could be like Necrolord. You could have Divine Toll plus the Hammer. And who knows what other better ones you might have for other specs as well. So there's definitely a lot more choices, a lot more a la carte. Yes, it could use some new stuff added to it as well, because right now it's literally just combining legendary effects, combining Covenant stuff from Shadowlands, and then combining different talents that maybe you could never combine before, like talents that were on the same row, for example, which could be interesting for a lot of specs as well. Like for Paladin, Rep Paladin, if you could combine Crusade plus, any of them, Final Reckoning or I believe I have it open. I'll check real quick. It's escaping me. Sanctified Wrath. If you could combine multiple of those, that becomes a very interesting proposition as well. So I definitely think it's very promising. I see nothing really wrong with it if this is what it's going to look like, and as long as you can go up, especially in this case right here, not being able to go up from here as like a bear and then to go back down and get the Sunfire, that was really toxic. So I can't imagine that'll be the case. So yeah, I'm very very much liking this. I can't wait until we actually have calculators for this, like from Blizzard, from the data mining, or just from alpha, and can play with it myself a little bit more and know exactly how it works and look at different builds and how interesting the builds could be. Because there's only so much you can do if you don't like main a class or whatever. There's only so much you can do with like knowing, oh wow, this is really broken if I can get 2 of these or whatever. There's only so much you can know, and since I only know balance mostly out of the ones that are chosen, I do know a little bit of Death Knight, but not enough to even be educated on, compared to most people that would play a Death Knight in game. Yeah, so I wish Paladin was available, but it's not, and I'm really really stoked about this. If this is what it's going to be like for every class, where it's a lot of mix and match, a lot of a la carte, a lot of choice, very easy to define your builds from content to content. Again, single target, multi-target, straight AoE, Mythic Plus, PvP, outdoor world. You have all these builds, and it's very easy to define them and to gain critical power and from just a few talent swaps. I think that's really good. Now, there's always going to be certain things that you're always going to take. That was the case in like Classic too, right? Where there's always something that's just like your best thing. So maybe for Boomkin it'd be like Precise Alignment. Well, I'm always going to take Precise Alignment. I'm just making that up. I don't know if that's the case. But you're always going to take certain things. You're probably almost always going to want to take Sunfire for most Druids, except for maybe Pharaoh. I don't know exactly how Pharaoh plays, but I think a lot of times you're going to want to take Sunfire, for example, here. So you're going to find some way to get to it. Would be my guess. So, and then in PvP, maybe you're always going to try to get to Cyclone, maybe not. But yeah, very very pro this. I want to see more of it. I want alpha access. I'd do anything for that. But I want to take my first look at it, share that with you guys, and yeah, generally I'm positive on it so far. Maybe adding a couple new things would be cool because people like new things, and adding them maybe to the bottom, like get rid of some of the legendary powers and that were not like highly used, and maybe add some new powers. That would be pretty cool. But that's it for this one, guys. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out so much. Other than that, everybody, have a good one.